All right, let's go. Hi, muckers. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very, very, very well. I am divine. I am not ugly. I am not boring. I am not fat. I am not gay. I am divine. Night. you, you, you may not, you may not know what that is from. May I introduce you to my new favorite video of all time from Jodi Hildebrandt.
I am not gay. I am not dumb. I am not stupid. I am not ugly. I am not fat. I'm not all those things.
I'm divine.
Because I am divine. I am not gay. I am not gay. I am not dumb. I am not stupid. I am not ugly. I am not fat. I'm not all those things.
Oh my god.
Because I am divine. I am not gay.
I am not fat. I am not gay. I am not ugly. I am divine. Oh my god. I have been watching this video on loop for the last 24 hours. I have just discovered this video of Jodi Hildebrandt, and I am so... I literally have been quoting this all the time. I am not gay. I am not fat. I am divine. The, like, eyes locked in as well. Like, I do one more time.
I am not gay. I am not dumb. I am not stupid. I am not ugly. I am not fat. I'm not all those things. Because I am divine. I am not gay.
The I am not gay being the opening is killing me. I am not gay. I am not fat. I am not boring. I am divine. I am none of those things. I am divine. Oh my god. Hi, muckers. Welcome back. I was so excited to do that intro, and also I needed to open the video with that because I'm going to be quoting this a lot. Like, randomly in upcoming videos, I'm just going to be like, I am not gay, I am not fat, I am divine. And people are going to be like... So, just so we're all aware, I'm quoting Jodi Hildebrandt, the ever so crazy Jodi Hildebrandt. Hello, I hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to be talking about the crazy Jodi, that I am not gay, I am not fat, I am divine. Jodi Hildebrandt, because we're being told that Jodi wants out of prison early, which is crazy. I think we should lock her up for longer. Yeah, Jodi Hildebrandt, who's a convicted, child, by the way, has filed a petition for a post-conviction relief, claiming her attorney didn't do his due diligence when she stood accused of doing what she did to the children. So basically, she is literally filing that her lawyer and attorney kind of messed up, therefore she should be allowed to have post-conviction relief, and she's now filing petitions to basically get out of prison early. And I'm like, first of all, I'm seeing all these fucking pictures and videos of Ruby in prison doing fucking yoga and all this shit, and I'm like, you know what? Ruby's found her fucking calling. She's found her people. Lock her up for good. You know what I mean? It actually pisses me off that Ruby looks as happy as she does in the photos, but fucking lock her up. And fuck her. Oh, I just put the lip plumper on. I'll just fucking lick my lips. Also, I just bought this in Don Quixote in Tokyo, where I am right now. And I was like, hey, muckers, I don't know the brand, but this girl's on it. And everyone was like, she's from, like, a thing. So, if anyone knows this diva, I mean, let me know. Let me know. I also just got a bunch of photo cards. If you could see the table behind me right now. Today's video is going to be a little bit heavy, so that's why I'm kind of, like, enjoying. Let me show you what my table looks like right now. With photo cards. Oh, mama. Oh, I've been using that yen. Wow, look at my little Japan haul. Wow. So anyways, I've been getting photo cards that I really wanted for so long. Like, oh my god, I finally got it. Also, I've been getting so many Felix ones. I love Felix so much. I got a bunch of Mingyu ones. Baby, we're just eating good. We're eating good. Anyways, so let's get back to Jodi Hildebrandt. This crazy, I am not gay, I am not fat woman. So yeah, she is filing to get out early, which is absolutely batshit crazy. And at this stage, I'm not going to be surprised by the system at all in whatever way this goes. It's crazy that, like, I don't know if she's in the same prison as Ruby. Otherwise, they'd probably be like dry humping. But it is crazy that we have Ruby seemingly loving prison from the fucking videos and pictures, and Jodi wanting out so badly. So let's dive into all that. Also, we are going through and reacting to Escape the Night, Joey Graceffa's show, on my Patreon. We have been uploading over there like crazy, so if you want to sign up to the Patreon, there's so many videos over there. Second leg of tour is happening this month. Nashville, Philly, Washington, Boston, Minneapolis, Detroit, Chicago, Orlando, Houston, Atlanta, Phoenix, San Diego, San Francisco. They're all on sale right now. I cannot wait to meet the muckers. Also, if you are in New York City, if you would want to come to a show in June, like a final show, a completely different show, let me know. I'm trying to gauge interest because I'm currently talking with venues about doing an independent show. So let me know. But anyways, let's get to this. So this is a video from the Law and Crime YouTube channel, which I love and we've covered from them before. But basically they've compiled everything, which is Ruby Franke's partner, romantic partner is what I'm going to say. Those bitches allegedly, I am not gay. I am not fat. I am divine. What does she say other than that again? Because I need to get it properly. I am not gay. I am not stupid. Hold on, let's try to guess it. I am not gay. I am not stupid. I am not... What the fuck does she say? I am not gay.
I am not gay. I am not dumb.
I am not gay. I am not dumb.
I am not stupid.
I'm not stupid.
I'm not ugly.
I'm not ugly. I'm not gay, I'm not dumb, I'm not stupid, I'm not ugly.
I'm not fat, I'm not all those things.
I'm not all those things.
Because I am divine.
God, she's crazy. Anyways, let's get into this video.
What happened to these children and your philosophy in dealing with them, frankly, seems detached from reality or any objective standard of decency. Or even common sense, and the court finds that it is appropriate that you serve a prison sentence.
Jodi Hildebrandt, the woman convicted of abusing the children of her co-defendant, YouTuber Ruby Franke, now wants to get out of prison early. And don't worry, Judge, she says the paperwork with all the details is in the mail.
She's such an alarming aura, doesn't she? She looks like my old principal, who also hated children.
We're going to be taking a look at her application for post-conviction relief, how she's blaming her attorney for being behind bars, and the new rules in Utah.
She's fully blaming her attorney? Oh, gee, she's throwing everything to the wall, isn't she?
Were sparked by this horrific abuse. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Shout out Jesse Weber.
It's been more than a year, believe it or not, since Jodi Hildebrandt and her business partner Ruby Franke were arrested for the horrific abuse.
It's been over a year? Clearly, I have no concept of time. Over a year? What? Actually, that would be right. Whoa. That's crazy.
Of two of Ruby's children. The details that started coming out were just shocking. Ruby had a very popular
This Liam Payne 2010 outfit is crazy. Anyone know what I'm talking about? Damn smile.
YouTube channel called 8 Passengers that featured her family, including her now estranged husband Kevin and their 6 children. But in August of 2023, Ruby's 2 youngest children, who were 10 and 12, were found emaciated with wounds inside of Jodi's home in Ivan's.
Also, the documentary on Ruby is copyrighted, so we are reacting to it, but it's on the Patreon. Sorry, I'm trying my best to only put copyrighted reactions on the Patreon so that I'm not pissing people off, but it is literally copyrighted, so we're reacting to that on the Patreon. So if you want to watch the reaction to the Ruby Franke doc, it'll be on the Patreon. I apologize. I literally just cannot react to it on YouTube. So that's a good thing about the Patreon. But again, I apologize. But again, it's copyright, you know.
Utah. Police would come to learn that the women had been abusing the children, basically torturing them for months that summer, making them stand outside in the heat, forcing one onto a cactus, denying them food and water.
Again, it's been so long since we first covered this. Like, please do not forget the details of this.
Telling them that they were evil and deserved to be punished. Really, really horrible stuff. And Ruby and Jodi, they were each charged.
Also, if anyone has an update on the niece, remember that's Jodi Hildebrandt's niece that we covered a lot of their story last year, it would have been. Anyone have an update on them? I might look into that.
With 6 counts of aggravated child abuse, second-degree felonies. In December of 2023, the Washington County District Attorney announced that the women had agreed to take plea deals, which involved them pleading guilty to 4 of the 6 charges. Jodi's actions were detailed in her plea deal with the Washington County District Attorney. In fact, the paperwork lays out specific details about the abuse. For example, count 1 is related to Ruby's youngest son. RF was denied adequate water for several days. He was required to remain in the summer heat, and he was punished when he secretly consumed water. In addition, after RF attempted to run away in July, his hands and feet were regularly bound. Many times, the binding included using 2 sets of handcuffs, one of RF's wrists and one of the ankles. At times, with RF lying on his stomach, ropes were used to tie the 2 sets of handcuffs together so that his arms and lower legs were lifted off the ground. Count.
Both of these women need to be locked up for life. No, what's it called? It's still spicy shit. No, where they're allowed to, like, bail or whatever it is. Like, none of that. For life, forever. Forever.
Count 3, connected to EF. This is Ruby's youngest daughter. The defendant's actions also caused severe emotional harm to EF. She was also repeatedly told she was evil and possessed. The punishments were necessary for her to be obedient and to repent, and these things were being done to her in order to help her. EF was convinced that she was evil and needed to go through these things in order to repent.
She's like a little kid. She's a little kid who believed that she was evil because of her psychotic mother and her lesbian lover, Jodi.
And the guilty pleas meant that they didn't go to trial. They went directly to sentencing in February of 2024, where they were each sentenced to 4 to 30 years in prison. It's going to be up to the parole board to decide when they're released. And by
the fact it was 4 to 30 is crazy. Like, 4 years for what they did.
Way, in her plea deal, in both of their plea deals, but since we're talking about Jodi, in her plea deal, it plainly states, I understand that I'm giving up my right to appeal my conviction if I plead guilty. Now, an appeal and post-conviction relief can be different, but still you get the idea.
That is interesting that she's directly acknowledging that in the original thing, but is now petitioning for a post-conviction. She pled guilty knowing she wouldn't get one, but she's now saying, oh, I want one, because I was screwed over.
Now, Jodi is fighting to get out of prison, saying that her lawyer did a bad job, and basically she's throwing him under the bus. So I want to welcome in a friend of the show, back to the show.
What the fuck?
KUTV anchor and reporter Brian Schnee. So good.
K-U-N-T, as in... Okay.
Good to see you, Brian. A lot to
K-U-T-V. I thought it was K-U-N-T.
catch up on. Let me just ask you real quick, before we even get into this more, are you surprised by this update, considering all that you have learned and all that you have studied about Jodi Hildebrandt?
No, nothing with Jodi Hildebrandt surprises me anymore, Jesse. It's the things that we've learned even after sentencing, right? A lot of these things just seem so far off and far out there for maybe the common individual to try and understand. So the fact that Jodi is trying to find a way to lessen her sentence or find a way to do something and
also the fact that she's trying to lessen her sentence in general is crazy, but the fact she's trying to do it, okay, we're literally only a year into this already. They were only arrested a year ago. Like, the fact she didn't wait longer than a year as well, like,
completely pointing the finger at Doug Terry, saying he didn't read me my rights. He didn't do anything.
He didn't. Could you imagine being the dumbass having to defend her in a thing where she's clearly guilty and then she's throwing you under the bus? Girl.
That he should have done. And this whole process was bogus is basically what she's filing from behind bars. And it doesn't surprise me one bit, Jesse, especially because of how Jodi was so involved with all of this, yet so much focus for so long was on Ruby Franke.
It's a really good point, and that's what I want to get into. So let me expand upon this a little bit. So on Monday, Jodi Hildebrandt filed what is called...
I think they're implying there that to the general public, the blame is all going on Ruby. So Jodi can kind of slip out. We don't forget. You may not be gay, you may not be fat, you may not be ugly, you may not be dumb, you may not be stupid, but we still remember what you did.
A petition for relief under the Post-Conviction Remedies Act. Now, if you read the statute, it does provide some mechanisms to remedy even a potential wrongful guilty plea. For example, it reads, if the conviction for which the petitioner asserts factual innocence was based upon a plea of guilty, the petition shall contain the specific nature and content of the evidence that establishes factual innocence. Not sure we're talking about the same thing here, because look, the first issue for Jodi Hildebrandt
Damn American flag.
is the court document indicates she is pro se, meaning she's representing herself, and as Brian said, she is claiming that her attorney, Douglas Terry, failed abysmally in making sure...
Failed abysmally? Woman! The fact she's representing herself is funny. Like, she's that fucking crazy. She is literally this fucking crazy.
Or she knew what was going on in court and the consequences that she could face. Hey, real quick, I want to thank our sponsor, Odoo, for...
Well, I'm glad they have a sponsor, not me though. Stay safe.
Reporter sitting on the other side about that dialogue that's had and that relationship that you build with your client, and seeing what that relationship turns into as it pertains to actually.
You are not enough. God, what a crazy image. This and then go back to this.
I am not gay.
When was this? Moms of Truth with Jodi and Ribby. Jesus Christ. Moms of Truth.
I am not gay. I am not dumb. I am not stupid. I am not ugly. I am not fat. I'm not all those things. Because I am divine. I am not gay.
Trying to maintain some level of innocence or lessen your chances of spending a lot of time in prison. So there was nothing really that stood out to me. It seemed pretty businesslike. But you know what's interesting is she basically just throws everything at Doug Terry here, who I did reach out to see if he would share some thoughts on this and didn't get back to me before we were able to talk about this. But Doug Terry's really well respected in Washington County. His office is next to the courthouse, handles a lot of.
So he's well respected, but he was the one defending her? God, the system's crazy, isn't it?
Cases, is a career guy that's been doing this a long time and is on.
Okay, but a bare minimum to give him a little bit of credit. He's good at his job, right? Whether I agree with him or not, defending someone like her, I guess the job has to be done. But it's crazy then that she's throwing that kind of person under the bus. Girl, it's not going to work.
Heavy load of cases right now from what I've been able to see in Utah's court system. So just kind of an interesting situation that we're dealing with right now, trying to figure out what Jodi Hildebrandt is after.
Let's talk about
And
this.
again, she's petitioning this all herself. It's going to be a mess.
So just to get everybody caught up, after Christmas in 2023, Jodi entered her guilty plea in front of Judge John J. Walton.
Ms. Hildebrandt, how do you plead to count 1, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
Guilty.
And she went on to plead to 4 total counts. And outside the courthouse, Douglas Terry,
Guilty.
her attorney, spoke with reporters indicating Jodi was remorseful.
I haven't had much to say about this case prior to today because I didn't feel it was appropriate to do so until today. Ms. Hildebrandt, my client, has pled guilty today to 4 counts. She has done so because she takes responsibility for her conduct.
Which, again, is crazy because, like, they both are on the record about her being remorseful. It's also why they didn't want to go to trial, because they were like, we don't want to subject the kids to any more trauma. But now she's going to say that, like, that wasn't the... Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, even in her most dumb-ass fucking state, this doesn't add up.
In this matter, her guilty pleas, she decided to plead guilty before Ms. Frankie entered into her plea agreement.
Which, again, he's like, whether it is true or not, like, it just kind of shows that she was in charge of everything and in control.
Or agreed to cooperate with the state. She has pled guilty because she did not want these children to have to testify.
See, that's going to be a big thing thrown in her face.
Responsibility. And it is her main concern at this point that these children can heal.
Again, this is going to be thrown in her face. The not wanting to traumatize the children, that will be thrown in her face. It'll be like, okay, so why are you taking it back then? You do want to traumatize the kids? This is going to... Not the pokey. This is going to come back on her. Like, is she going crazy behind bars because she's not, like, munching away? I am not gay. You know what I mean? Like, all jokes aside, but, like, is she thinking? I am not stupid. I think you are.
Both physically and emotionally.
Then, during sentencing, Jodi finally made a public statement. But you'll notice she never directly admits her guilt and doesn't say she's sorry.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally. One of the reasons.
But even with that statement, it can imply, again, what the attorney said, which was she doesn't want to traumatize them with going to trial. So, again, it can be thrown in her face, thankfully.
I did not go to trial, so I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them. My hope and prayer is that they will heal and move forward to have beautiful lives. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served to make retribution.
Now, she says she's willing to submit to what the court feels is appropriate. Interesting there. Before we move on, Brian, throwing you back into this, you know, in light of what we're about to get into, what did you make of her statements and Douglas Terry's statements?
Well, if we're talking about those statements that happened basically the day of her sentencing, it was very different than what we heard from Ruby Franke, right? And that was the focus of a lot of coverage. Is there was really no remorse here. It was kind of just a blank stare, a lack of understanding of maybe the egregious crimes that Jodi had previously allegedly now being convicted and actually sentenced to, what she had actually done.
And again, just want to clarify here that a lot of focus is on Ruby, which, don't get me wrong, it should be. However, there is something to be said about the fact that Jodi did this with multiple families as well. That doesn't take anything away from Ruby. I'm just saying that, like, Jodi is relying on people focusing on Ruby here because of the documentaries, because of everything. Ruby's the face, you know. But Jodi has also done this to multiple different families as well. That will be thrown in her face.
I felt like at that point, there was a lot of feeling like she just didn't get it. This woman just didn't get it of what she was putting these children through. And what's interesting is, as you've heard more come out about Jodi Hildebrandt through the form of a lot of documentaries and things, there was a lot of far-reaching things that Jodi was involved in and that she truly believed. I haven't watched the documentaries because I've spent so much of my life covering this case over the last couple of years, but I've heard through the grapevine of a lot of people that said, did you see what happened here? And those things don't surprise me either. So a lot of those mannerisms really align with her lack of really taking any accountability for what happened to Ruby Franke's kids under her own roof, which was just sold finally.
And now we
it was sold, thank God.
This idea of, is it consistent not taking accountability? Because she has now filed this post-conviction relief motion. And just to be clear, from a legal point of view, that can be a very difficult journey, and it becomes considerably more challenging if you voluntarily plead guilty. Now, there is a question if she voluntarily pled guilty, or at least she's trying to raise the question, because I want to talk about this petition for post-conviction relief. So in it, Jodi has filled out and checked certain boxes. For example, the document asks, what was your plea? Jodi indicates guilty. Did you testify at trial? She writes in, there was no trial. And then a little further down, did you appeal from the conviction or sentence? No. If you did not appeal from your conviction or sentence, why not?
Oh my God. This is crazy. She's fully playing that she's playing the ignorant card. I didn't know my rights. I didn't know my rights. I take it all back. I didn't know my rights. God, I can't wait to get my hair cut. Jesus Christ.
Did not understand my rights. Writes that in.
Crazy.
Jodi Hildebrandt is essentially making the argument that she didn't really know what was going on. Look, the legal system can be quite intimidating and confusing, but that is why you have a lawyer there. But Jodi seems to be claiming that...
And also, from what we've been told, someone who's really good at what he does. Whether I agree with him defending her or not, I guess someone's got to do it.
The lawyer wasn't doing the best thing for her, which is, of course, his job. Now, the relief paperwork continues with the reasons that Jodi selected as to why her case needs another look. And it seems that she actually wrote these in, meaning we're not even sure these would be adequate reasons for her to get relief under the law.
God.
But first it says, quote, conviction or sentence obtained by plea of guilty that was unlawfully induced or not made knowingly and voluntarily with understanding of the charge and consequences of the plea. Next, ineffective assistance of counsel. Terry did no investigation, advised waiver of preliminary hearing, and did not demand a bill of particulars to clarify the charges, did not explain the charging statute, did not negotiate a plea agreement that conformed to law, and did not advise Hildebrandt of her constitutional rights. Brian, thoughts on that before we move on?
Well, the whole thing's just rather interesting, right? And we've done some coverage on this here on the local level here in Utah. And one of my colleagues spoke to a former prosecutor here, now a defense attorney, who weighs in with some media coverage and really just called this a Hail Mary for Jodi Hildebrandt. I mean, making a true Hail Mary attempt at trying to get her sentence.
God, I need to go through and, like, watch some of her, like, speeches. I'm like, what does she even be preaching about? Because anything I've seen of her so far is crazy.
I am not gay.
Lessened at this point. Now, she's not up for a parole hearing at this point until 2026. They put that out so far, so we still don't really know where she stands in that 4 to 30 year spectrum. But he said the same thing. I mean, these post-conviction remedies are extremely difficult to actually have go forth, especially if you don't.
Not only are they difficult to go forth, but that's when you have, like, an attorney really petitioning for you. But when you're doing it yourself,
have any other representation on your side. Now, Doug Terry has the right here to go back and defend himself against these accusations as well. So Jodi will probably get her day back in court in some way.
That is what's really crazy, is he could come out in this and basically prove all the times that she did know about her rights, and then he could be fighting her in trial.
Shape or form or some fashion, whether it's a virtual hearing from the Utah State Prison out by the Great Salt Lake, or maybe they bust her back down to Washington County. I don't know, but I think this is not surprising, like we said at the beginning, because Jodi seemed pretty lost through the entire process. To remember the day with her on the phone when officers came to her door? There were
What an ugly front door, by the way.
some lost moments there as well. And it all started with that for Jodi Hildebrandt. And then you really got into the deep dive of her history and all the people that came out about regarding connections, classrooms, and all the things that she was doing to breaking apart relationships. We could talk about this for hours, Jesse. Jodi Hildebrandt is an interesting human being, and this doesn't surprise me one bit. But again,
Hold on. My lighting went. I'm gonna put it back in. I just need to charge it again. All right. There we go. I'm back.
Hail Mary attempt.
Your memory is probably much better than mine. Do you remember when she was in court and she was, accepting this plea deal and was going to be sentenced and pled guilty? Was she advised? I mean, let me rephrase this. Do you remember if the court said to her, do you realize what you're pleading guilty to? Do you understand you're relinquishing your rights? I seem to remember that, unless I'm wrong. I mean, you tell me.
At the time of our conversation when we're sitting here, I don't have the clip in front of me, but I can replay it in my mind because I was sitting in the spot in the courtroom where normally a jury would sit, because that's where they stashed a bunch of us reporters. So I was looking right at Jodi Hildebrandt as Judge Walton was speaking to her, and they went through the book just like everything else, Jesse. I would have it
Again, I think this idea that she looked pretty lost, it's an act. This woman is clever in some ways and not in others.
hard time thinking those things were never said. I maybe 95% certain about that because I can't replay it, I guess, in full in my brain. But I would have a hard time thinking that she was never actually read her rights and actually was gone through some of those things. Because she says in this document here, she was never made aware of her rights.
But she signed the plea agreement. She signed it.
Yeah.
She signed it, and you're expected to read it, right? But look, here's the thing. She doesn't just blame her defense attorney. She seems to blame the prosecution, too, because her third reason for why she says she needs post-conviction relief
Misconduct.
Prosecutorial misconduct. Conviction or sentence obtained by the constitutional failure of the prosecution to provide the defendant adequate notice of the charges, negotiation of an unlawful plea agreement. Fourth reason, plain error. Conviction or sentence.
Wow, she's throwing fucking everything at the wall and being like, bitch, what'll stick? God, she's crazy.
Sentence obtained by failure of the court to enforce defendant's constitutional right to adequate notice of the charges, accepted guilty plea to unlawful plea agreement, and her fifth and final reason, structural error, denial of Hildebrandt's due process rights for adequate notice of charges and accurate application of the law governing the terms of the plea agreement. Brian, I don't quite understand it, and I don't know if you had an opportunity to
because it doesn't make sense
to the prosecutors in this case, but your thoughts on this one?
Well, I do know that Jodi decided to send her evidence and findings in the mail, so it'll eventually get to Washington County some way, shape, or form from the Utah State Prison. But I have not spoken to the prosecutors, and I didn't get a chance to speak with Doug Terry, although I tried yesterday when we were, on Thursday, we were lining up this conversation to make sure if Doug had something to say, I wanted to make sure that was out there. But he was always very quiet from the very beginning about speaking about his client in this case. It was kind of texts and emails didn't work. It had to be a phone call or it had to be in person. So I didn't expect him to get back to me pertaining to what Jodi has had to say here. At the end of the day, I'd be interested to see what she writes down, right? What does it look like in Jodi's...
Again, what's crazy is I think he did the best job defending her that he could have done, or that anyone could have done. So, like, any evidence she has against him, it's going to be really interesting because, like, he couldn't have done more for you.
Dies because she wrote all this. She wrote these things. I mean, maybe there's some assistance there with somebody she knows and somebody advised her on a phone call, but at the end of the day, has no one representing her, and she's putting together this kind of A, B, C, D, E, and...
Not monthly membership, 50% off, yeah, I'm sure.
F of what went wrong here in Jodi Hildebrandt's eyes, and some of them seem to be a little, not an attorney, but
what went wrong in her eyes is that she's not out of prison. She's in prison. That's what's wrong in her eyes.
A little far-reaching, given the crimes that were levied against her in basically with her role with Rudy Franke, right?
And there's another issue I want to get to want to talk to you about as well that's beyond Jodi Hildebrandt, but just to put a bow on this, yeah, you're right. So she indicated, or this document indicates, that someone seeking post-conviction relief needs to include paperwork that explains the reasoning and offers up facts and evidence that would be presented as evidence. And Hildebrandt writes, a Rule 65C Memorandum of Points and Authorities, which presents all pertinent facts and applicable authorities, is being placed in the prison mail system today. So that was on Monday, March 24th. By the way, Rule 65C does appear to be about post-conviction relief. And Jodi again states that her attorney didn't do his due diligence. None of the enumerated grounds were previously presented to any court. I did not know my rights, and my attorney did not inform me of them. But
God, this is really crazy that she... Jesus Christ. This is really crazy that she is playing this card. I know that she's crazy, but I didn't think that she was like this. I guess she's just trying it. She's trying it and seeing what happened. She's trying it before Ruby would try it.
I want to switch gears right now with Brian, and I want to talk about how Ruby and Jodi's case has impacted the law in Utah. So the whole case helped shine a light on family vlogging, which has really taken off in Utah in recent years. And many states have laws in the books to protect child performers, especially financially. But with the rise in online content, children participating in family vlogs, they need to be protected too. And Utah State Representative Doug Owens sponsored a bill to update the state's laws when it comes to children contributing to their household's finances. In fact, online content creators who make more than $150,000 a year from content featuring their kids will be required to set aside 15% of the earnings into a trust fund that can be accessed when the child turns 18. And it also has a stipulation that once the child becomes an adult, they can request that their images be removed. Now, Kevin Franke, Ruby's estranged husband, has been a staunch supporter of this bill, as has the Franke's oldest child, Shari Franke. They both spoke at separate hearings or separate meetings of the House Business and Labor Committee. Take a look.
In any other context, it is understood that children cannot give consent, but for some reason, people think family vlogging is different. I did not realize the impact that filming as a child would have on me now. My social media became flooded with rumors of having sexual relations with my own brother, to being called a baby birthing machine at the age of 13. All these things have stuck with me, and I will forever live between the ages of 13 to 17 in many of my viewers' minds.
Wow.
In addition, pedophiles stalk the internet, specifically seeking out child influencers. I promise you that the parents are aware of these predators and choose to post their children anyway. I want to be absolutely clear that there is no amount of money that can justify selling your soul as a child to the world. In no other industry would we justify unregulated child labor with a huge paycheck, and we should not do that here. If I could go back and do it all again, I'd rather have an empty bank account now and not have my childhood plastered all over the internet. No amount of money I received has made what I've experienced worth it. Family vlogging ruined my innocence long before Ruby committed a crime. I promise you that my experiences are not unique and are happening to child influencers all over Utah and the country. So let's tackle this issue before it becomes a bigger crisis than it already is.
And then Kevin read statements into...
Wow. Again, I have not seen Kevin and his statements. I've seen the Shari's ones. And again, she is a victim in all this, and she doesn't have to be advocating, but the fact she's choosing to is making such a... just... I have not seen Kevin's, though, so I'm intrigued to hear what he says. Because, I mean, I'm not loving him.
To the record from two of his daughters, starting with words from one of his middle daughters.
This bill should be passed. Smiley face. Had it been in place when my family was doing YouTube, my mom would not have been able to withdraw all of my savings I had from doing YouTube. This bill will prevent other kids from having to go through the pain of realizing that the compensation for years' worth of time and effort is suddenly gone. Another thing this bill would do that should have been done a long time ago is give adults over the age of 18 the right to have monetized images and videos of themselves taken off social media platforms from when they were kids. As kids, you don't realize what you're subjected to. Really, you're selling your life, your privacy, your body, and stories to the entire world. And as a child, you're involuntarily giving up all of that. You're selling your childhood.
And Kevin also read a statement from EF, the youngest Franke child who was abused.
Wow, I didn't know this.
I think these new rules will keep the children of Utah more safe because I know more about the horrible situation that a lot of kids are in right now more than anyone. When I was on YouTube, I thought nothing was wrong. I felt, quote unquote, happy, but I really wasn't. When I started getting older, I realized the YouTube channel had ruined my childhood, but at least I got some money, right? Oh, right. I actually didn't because my mom withdrew all of it in 2023. I worked hard for that money. I acted like someone I wasn't in front of that camera, and I earned that money, but I feel like my mom used me for money. I know many of the YouTube channels out there today deny this and say their channels are different and their kids choose it and don't act in front of the camera, but every YouTuber parent expects their kids to act a certain way. Even if the kids themselves do a channel, they deserve the money, not the parents.
And on Tuesday, Utah Governor
Wow,
Spencer Cox signed the bill into law, a win for those advocating for some of the state's most vulnerable individuals. Brian, what did you make of those statements from Shari, from Kevin, the daughters, and talk to us about the significance of this legislation?
I need to do a little bit of a deep dive into what Kevin is doing because I didn't know he was speaking at court.
Well, it's a big deal. There's a lot of children in Utah. It's the youngest state in the nation. And for that reason, there's a lot of protections and legislation that is run focused on children. Now, it's not just this bill that had direct implications from Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt's actions. There are also child torture amendments and other conversations about aggravated child abuse and upping that charge. And there was a lot of things that went into play as a result of Franke and Hildebrandt's actions that eventually came to light, resulted in guilty pleas and jail time. But when it comes to the child actor situation, content creation is big in Utah. It's big since I've been here about 5.5 years ago. I noticed that when I moved here. a lot of families. There's a lot of let's go to the national parks, or let's take our kids to Disneyland, or let's go do this. And it's not as targeted towards the kids that I've noticed as 8 Passengers was. So much of 8 Passengers was focused on, hey kid, what do you think about this? Or let's put you on screen when you're having your worst day, or you're being disciplined, or you're not being able to eat, or you're sleeping on the floor. Like, those are things that we're not seeing in some of the other content creators that are really kind of just
thank fuck. Jesus Christ.
Showing a more positive light. And that's why 8 Passengers got so much attention. So here, the children will start to get some money. They'll have it in form of a trust that goes into play, May 7th, 2025. It results in people that actually make money from content creation over 6 figures. And you mentioned that 150K with a 15% kickback in the trust, supposed to be put in around January of every single year. And then once they become 18, they can scrub that content. So a lot of these things are in place to try to protect the children that are being, in a way, exploited by their parents. If this is their main line of financial gain as a content creator, it just brings so many thoughts to my mind, because this is so popular right now with so many people just trying to make it on social media, trying to monetize. I see it every single day. What I see isn't typically involving a family with children, might just be the algorithm. But at the end of the day, this could really help people that don't want to go through this certain situation, like we've seen with the Frankie kids.
And you wish it didn't happen.
And again, we will leave it there, but I think, we have these laws that were put in place for kids in Hollywood. And as the times have changed, the laws need to change as well. I want to do a deep dive into what Kevin is doing. Shout out to Shari again. The fact that Jodi is playing the dumb card and is also turning on the one person that was defending her, who had to defend her, and is filing all this herself. Guys, this is going to be a shit show. Like, this is going to be, she's going to make such a fool of herself, I fear. I don't fear, I want her to. I am not gay, I am divine. Muckers, let me know your opinion of this. We'll talk about it down below. I appreciate you being here, and don't forget, we are divine. Bye.